painting stream. We are continuing to paint the jackdaw. Where is he? There he is. Pop. Got to get some transitions for that. Okay, so what we're going to do today is probably the skin. Get some more work done on the vest, I think, because that's just had a single base coat and a wash. So we'll try and bring that out a bit. And maybe work on the rope. We'll see how we go. But I guess we'll just get started then, shall we? So what I've done with this skin so far is I've used a P3 paint, the Crixbane Highlight, and I've washed it with a mix of browns and greens and a bit of yellow, and I'm going to go back over the skin using the very watered down version of the same Crixbane Highlight, which is just like a smoky brown, kind of like the colour of a dark ash. Alrighty, that's my phone going off, which I'll just make it go not whoop. Okay, hopefully this is watered down enough. Still haven't gotten the placement of my cameras down yet. It's all a bit awkward in this room. Okay, let's see. I don't trust my watering down. Let's go even further. Almost washing it off my brush. First stroke, come on. I don't know. It's hard to see what it is, really, because of the green. I may have to kick it up a notch in terms of brightness. Yeah, I don't think that's going to have the effect that I want. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to mix in maybe a bit of yellow, this kind of yellow, not sun yellow, a sandy yellow. Wash the paint off. Get me mixing brush. Okay. Is my lights okay? I think they're okay. Alright, at the moment it's looking a bit more like the consistency of the... Where are we? There we are. Focus, you're not going to be able to see very well. More like the mask at the moment. So, we'll try that and see what happens. Play around with it. Okay, so it's pretty fluid. Let's make some strokes over that spot that we went. That's quite a bit lighter. Now is it too light? And a bit too fluid because it doesn't want to stay where I put it. It's more like a glaze now. And it sounds... that music? Kind of sound like, what is it? Crypt of the Necrodancer? Love that game. Cadence of Hyrule is the latest version from that same group. Is it? Fungal Funk 2-1. I don't know. I think it is the Crypt of the Necrodancer music. It sounds very, very similar anyway. If you haven't tried it, you should give it a go. Rhythm-based dungeon crawler. Now, the paint's just gone a bit too far into the nooks there. I'm just going to shake it out. Am I happy with that? I don't know. I'm never happy with anything. Not until it's done. I think I'm okay with that. I think maybe just now I need to try and make it less fluid. You can use a medium for that, it'll help it not pour as much because again it's just a paint without pigment. So it's plop a drop there and I can play around with it. Get some more of that yellow. Alright, let's see how we go now. Mixing. Hopefully your weekend's been alright. What is it? It's 1 o'clock on a Sunday afternoon, so pretty lazy weekend so far. Apart from me cutting my finger, chopping flipping onions last night. Needed a couple of stitches in it, and it just won't stop bleeding, which is nice. Okay, there we go. Alright, so I'm just working on the highest points of his torso and abdomen, trying to avoid any of the shadowy bits. I think there's supposed to be a scar in his chest there. I don't know, I'll pick that out later. So I'm just glazing these things, just very, very thin layers. Don't want it too thick just because if I make a mistake, which I've been, well, they're not really mistakes, they're just still figuring them out. If I do something that I'm not too happy with, I can easily go over it without ruining too much or having to do it all over again. And the medium's helping it to sit and not drip everywhere, which is good. Yeah, I don't think I'm ever going to be happy with this until I'm finished, which is a shame. I don't know if anyone else is like that, but yeah. Just understand that it's work in progress. Just got to keep thinking that, that's all. Right, so I'll just take the miniature off my marker, which I use to rest so you can get a decent viewing of the figure. The focus alright? Yeah, let's make it more focusy. More focusy? More focused. Okay. I had to play around with the autofocus. No, not for me. I think it would just play with your eyes too much because it just keeps zooming in and out from the background to the foreground. Bit more paint. We're getting there, sort of. Alright, bicep. Okay, forearm. And again, just the raised areas. Trying to avoid the crevices. And his hand, bit on the palm. Can't do much with this bloody little finger as well. Literally bloody little finger. Blood everywhere last night. Try to step the blood flow before going to the hospital. It's not a big cut either. It's like a ½ centimeter laceration. It's kind of like a nice little crescent moon across there. I think the highest highlight on this we're going to do is a very light grey, I think. So we've got a green base, a yellowy grey mid, and then I'm going to go a grey top. So hopefully the layering of those, colours looks alright. We'll see what happens at the end. And see, so with glazing, we're just going over it again as it dries. Another layer as it dries, another layer. And that kind of blends. Okay, now that we've done a little bit more, and I can see that it's starting to take shape, I'm not hating it as much. Make sure it's focused, okay. Going back over those bits that just be before. Alright, and while that's still wet, let's flip him over and do the back of the arm. Been playing a bit of Monster Hunter Iceborne. Loving it. I'm a Monster Hunter veteran. Played it on most systems back from the very first one on PS2. Even imported the Japanese version of number 3 on the PSP. Couldn't understand anything, but what do you have to understand when you just hunting monsters and carving up their bits for stuff? Missed it on the Wii though, because I didn't own it. I'll go back into it with the DS, and now next gen, or current gen. It's a good game. So I have put quite a few hours into it over the years. I'm not going to put too much of a highlight underneath there, because I don't think that'll look right to have it bright underneath that. But we will. You can't really glaze the fingers, well I can't anyway. We will end up doing these tips very bright, because that'll make it stand out quite a bit more. Just the tips. Sure there's a joke in there somewhere. Hands are a bit shaky today. Okay. Let's work on these abs a bit more. Don't want to get too close to that hood. Don't want to add too much colour to it either. Don't want to do a lot of things, it sounds like. This guy's pretty ripped. Oh, got a bit on his pants there. Got to clean brush. Suck that up. Alright, so now let's work on his other arm. Is it focused on okay? Okay. Alright. Next. Hopefully that music isn't too loud. Not a fan of that song. Subterfuge, apparently. Alrighty. Can we get in here without much difficulty? Probably not. And like with the other hand, we probably aren't going to be able to glaze it too well, so we'll just end up using a bit more of it undiluted paint and just highlight it, and then it'll stick out, or stand out. Which is all that matters with wargaming figures, really. Just doing the very tips of each of those knuckles, the wrist there, forearm, sorry about my head there. It can't be attractive looking at the top of someone's head. Alrighty. Let's see if we can get a better angle on this without obscuring it too much for you. Okay. That looks alright. Get that bicep again. Alrighty, good start. Let's get this foot done. It's going to go a little darker just because it'll be closer to the ground, not as much light there. Can we see paint? Oh yeah. I think so. Isn't it really disappointing when you want to go to the cinemas and there's nothing out? Like you want to do something but you can't, just because it won't let you. I wanted to go yesterday, because I'm a bit of a cinema goer, and nothing. Looking forward to the Joker movie though. It shouldn't be out too much longer. Next week, maybe the week after. How's that looking? Less green, which is good. So we don't actually want him being green. Alright, so again, just painting all the raised edges. Readjust my seat. Readjust my hands. I'm just doing up to the ankle there, And then the heel, not really touching the side of the foot yet. And much like the phalanges of his hand, we'll be bringing out the toes later. Okay, I can see there's quite a bit of a dark splooge there. Jeez, that's loud in my ears. Hopefully it's not too loud on you. I'm just going to knock it down just a little. That music I'm talking about, just in case. And I wonder if I can knock it down on my actual headset. Yes, I can. Alright, back to this then. You can see with the glaze, like the dark green kind of comes through quite a bit. It's a bit hard with the wet paint just shining on you. What if I turn it like that? Now do I beat this guy up a bit? Do I put some bruises on him or something? I don't know. We'll come to that towards the end, see if he's missing anything. Alrighty, and the other foot. The ankle, the foot, the shin, the other ankle, and the calf. Okay. Knocking out a lot of that green. Making him less of a Hulk. Like a very sick Hulk. Okay, just about done. I think that's looking okay. I think his arm is still a bit flat, so I'll just go over that again. This is something that I've just introduced since the last stream, is I realised you could get the Twitch app so I can see chat now on my phone, so I don't have to keep looking up to find it, and then I can just look to my side and there it is. Haha, improvements. But no one wants to talk to me. Alright, working on just a bit more now that it's dried a bit. Introducing a couple more layers of the same colour. That's something that when I first heard about glazing, how you have to do lots and lots of little layers, I think, wow, that's going to take forever. But when you do it like this, you add a layer, you work on another part of the model, add a layer, work on another part of the model, add a layer. By the time you get back to the first layer, it's dried. So it really doesn't take that much longer. Just maybe a bit more patience because of all the repetition. You start seeing that okay? Yep. Ooh, back's getting a bit sore. Okay. looking forward to doing the base where I don't have to concentrate so much. Basing's nice and simple. I'll do that on stream too, in case anyone's not sure how to do it. It's pretty quick and easy. Especially with this particular theme that I'm using on this one. It's like a bit of a tundra, a bit of a muddy, snowy deal. And then it's just basically some sort of texture. Paint it, glue some grass onto it, and glue some snow. But I'll show you how I do all of those things. Which turns out okay, so if you wanted to follow one, you could replicate pretty easily. Okay, those legs, those feet have dried it by now. Touching the camera, knocking it up. I think it might be time to introduce a grey into this greyish, yellowish mess. And we're touching the camera again. Okay. Glazing is not satisfying at all because it takes a long time to get anywhere, or to get to the finished product, and the work in progress is always dissatisfying because you just want it to be done, you just want it to look pretty, and it's not looking pretty fast enough. Better result in the end, but yeah, it's not satisfying. Okay, just going to bring out these ankles and feet a bit more. I think his abdomen and torso are fine. Just got to work on these feet. So we've still got hints of green, which is what I'm after. In the valleys there. And everything else a bit blended into this grey skin that we will be introducing. How's that angle? That's alright, okay. Okay. I'm just going to do a single glaze over this just to knock that out a bit. Because it's so thin. It's not going to adjust it too much, but it should adjust it enough to satisfy me. I think I'm getting my skills with having the miniature on camera up a bit better. Learning where it should be so you can see it. So hopefully this stream, there hasn't been too many times so far where it's just kind of going woo. And I apologize about the ads. If you're seeing lots of ads, it takes a little bit of time to become a Twitch affiliate, where you can start having a bit of a say as to how often those things are. And then you could subscribe to the channel to just remove ads completely. I'm I'm also uploading these videos to YouTube for later, so I know YouTube has ads as well, but I don't think they're so invasive. Well, they're not when I'm watching it via the PlayStation anyway. On my big telly. Now there may be a chance we are invaded by some animals. They like being with people, and I'm the only one in the house at the moment. The door's closed, but they're not silly. They can open it. So you'll get a surprise cat and or dog jumping onto the stream. Let's face it, that's not a bad thing. I think most people like animals. But mine can be quite annoying though. But I'm sure that'll be entertaining to watch. Alright, bugger this. Let's put a grey into our mix. Get my little holder there. So what kind of grey? I'm going to go fairly light because otherwise you're not going to be able to see it. Going for the G-Dub Astronomicon, just a little bit because it will affect the colour quite severely. So hopefully this works. If not, oh well. Okay. That's fluid enough for my brush to pick up. Let's see. On the edges, how different does this look? Yeah, it's quite a bit lighter. Is it too light? Maybe. I'll mix some of the other colour that we were using. Try to bring it down a little. There we go. Okay, so the muscle is starting to become more defined with these extra colours, which is good. That's what we want. That's what I want. I have always had a trouble with contrast, bringing a lot of contrast into a figure, so having very deep darks in your shadows and very, very, very bright highlights. It just doesn't sit well with me. It looks better on a miniature. Wargaming figures love contrast like that. It's easier to see from a fair distance. Makes it stand out, makes details pop. But to me that doesn't look nice. And yeah, so I find it hard to do it. And I know I should in some occasions. Something I'm trying to work on. As a painter, is always something to learn. New techniques and tricks and products that come out. I've been painting for a very long time. And I'm always learning something. And it's got a, looks like a really high belly button. It's just underneath his chest. What is that? It should be down here, surely. Not up here. Is that a manufacturing mistake? Is it just poor design? Maybe he's just a high belly button figure. Still looking okay on screen? Alrighty. So just going over all the places that I had before, using the slider color. Again, keeping all the shadowy whites in shadow, and just bringing out the top. This is the lighter color. And that's a shaky hand. How does it look on cam? Not so bad on camera. Okay. So we'll just leave the chest there for now. We'll start working on the arm using this one color. So you can still see it. Focus, there we go. And we'll see how this turns out. So avoiding underneath the arm, one because it's a looks like a pain in the ass to get to, and two because it's in shadow. Once again, raised areas only. Not doing such a broad area now as the previous color, and that's how you get the blending. So you have your base, and then you got a little bit more of your mid, and then the highlight. So you've got this nice little transition, gradient, ombre. Okay, so I didn't put enough paint down. It's starting to run out already. That's the worst bit, having to remix this, try to remix the same color. Got a mate who used to write down all these recipes on bits of card. I tried doing that, couldn't keep it up. I just forget to write it down. And then for my brain, I need like exact quantities for your recipe, the ratio. Now what I just did, can we even see anything on that? It's very hard to tell. There we go. Apologies if the mic was just scraping on the cord there and you had an unsightly rustling in your ears. Unsightly? Is that a thing for for sounds? Unhearingly? I don't know. There we go again. I'm just going to move this thing, bugger it. Alright. Speaking of bad sounds, someone eating a banana with their mouth open. Imagine that. Although I did see some people are YouTubing themselves eating loud noises, like loud pieces of food crunching and whatnot. Just, I don't know. I don't know. Okay, so he's becoming a bit more great. That's what we're after. That's what I'm after. I keep saying we. Unless you have the same want. If so, express that in chat. Okay, looking good. Well, for a creepy dancy undead thingy. Looking good. "20-minute abs." Don't exercise, paint them on. And then don't ever use your core again. Okay, that paint's drying a bit too much now. Trying to get as much as I can out of it before it goes, and then I have to remix. And hopefully, we've got the same mix. Is that looking alright? Good, because I think I found a comfortable position that keeps the figure on screen and me being able to see what I'm doing. Still got to figure out this lighting though, because for me it produces too much shadow. But that's not your concern. Well, sort of is, you're watching it. Okay, so these muscles here, I'm just going to do just the very edge here. I'm not going to go on the back. We did colour them before, but I'm just doing the very edge on this side, that side. Alright, paint is drying out. Time to mix. Here, let me focus this one for you, so you just don't have this blurry thing. Zoop, there we go. Get my hand in the way so you can't see my face. I think I need a third boom arm for this face cam. Ow! Because I've got it on a tripod and it doesn't quite sit well. Alright, so what did we use to make this colour? Okay, how about we start off with that grey. And I'll make a whole bunch of it this time, so we don't run out. Where are we? Let's use this part. One, two. It's quite thick. It's starting to dry out this pot, because again, P3 paint pots, the lids always crack. Always crack. That's certainly not enough on my palette yet. And this brush that I'm using is becoming less and less of a brush and more of just a stick. Stick that's a little bit hairy at the top. As every brush will eventually lead to, that's their retirement. Look at it, it's disgusting. But the paint is just, the paint pot, absolutely rubbish. I think maybe going forwards I'll just get Vallejo, just because of the dropper bottles. If it starts to dry out, you can just stick a pin in the nib and clear it out. I don't know if I'm going to get much more out of this. I think we're just going to have to do with what we've got there. I'll try and revive this after the stream, because like someone eating a banana with their mouth open, it'll sound exactly the same. Alright, so what would we say? We had that grey, and then we had a bit of the sandy yellow. You know, it'd be nice to be able to have paints that don't dry out. I'm going to have to do the same thing with this pot after the stream. They're not quite dead, but enough to annoy me. And if you need to know how to do it, it's basically just throw some water, maybe a bit of medium in there, quite a bit of liquid, and just smash it with your stick until it's all goopy again. Sorry about this. I should have been more prepared. But these things happen. Can you hear that? Things you don't want to hear when it's loud. Bloody paint pots. Look at that mess. I shouldn't have called this a painting stream. I should have called it a paint pot repair stream. Alright, let's see what we can do with this. You can see that on the palette. I think that's plenty. It's going to be plenty. Okay. Let's start mixing that, see what we come up with. That's looking very similar to what we had. That's good. Perhaps a bit too yellow. Yep. So we'll see if we can bring back a little bit of that grey, and then we'll throw some of the very light grey into it. Okay, that should be it. Mix this one in. That's chunky. More water. There we go, smoothing that out. Delicious. Except don't eat it. It's non-toxic, don't eat it. Doesn't taste very nice. There's only been a few times where I've been drinking something, the cup near my paint water cup, and I wash my brush in my drink and drink the other thing. Never learn. Well, I suppose I do. I've got a bottle now. Can't mix that up. Okay. Now we're going to add in a little bit of that grey. Maybe a little bit more. Always do it a little bit at a time, because if you go too much, it's very hard to get back. I think that's looking okay. Yeah, it's very similar. Alright. It's going to be okay. Now I'll just add a little bit of water just to make sure it's not so dry. Okay, I think we are fine now. Wash the brush once more just to get the brush paint out of the ferrule. You don't want it touching the, well, where we go, yep, the focus, whoop, the very end here, because then it's hard to get out and then you need to use your brush soap and this makes more work. Just try to avoid it if you care about your brushes. Okay, let's get back this camera to focus on the figure. Zoop. Excuse me. Let's see if we didn't stuff this up in terms of color matching. quite a bit brighter and not as grey as I'd like. So we'll just get that very light grey again and add a bit more. Okay, knocking that out. That's much brighter. Is it more grey? I don't think so. So back we go to the stupid dry part that doesn't have any bit of wet paint to it. I can see it kind of sliming about in there. Let's see if we can get the least chunky bit. Don't think we've got much success. It's all a bit too gluey. I could try a smidge of the charcoal. It'd have to be smidgy smidge. This feels like a mistake, but we're doing it. Now how about we just go a darker grey. When you add in a darker colour, it can be quite intense. So you should do it very, very, very small to begin with. Very, very small amount. Like just wet the brush, small amount. As you see there, I think that's, to my eye, that's made quite a bit of difference. Well, you can't see, it's all out of focus, but trust me. I'm just going to leave it there. That'll be enough. Let's make sure it's wet enough. And let's get back to why you were here in the first place. Possibly. Maybe you just like to see my pretty face. It's almost been an hour already. I'm always surprised at how fast the time goes. Okay. Testing on the abs. Quite bright. Quite wet. I think it's good enough. Yeah, good enough. So just going over the bits that we did before. Just to make them stand out. And I'm making sure that there isn't a heap amount of paint on the brush, because we're doing very, very subtle, I think is the word, applications of the paint here. You don't want to knock it by mistake. Well, I don't want to knock it by mistake. Maybe you do. Different strokes, different folks. Oh, went too far. Okay, knock it back with a clean brush. There we go. And that's essentially how you erase the paint. Clean brush and absorb it. Okay. And that's one thing that you can do with glazing as well, is instead of doing thinner paints, you could just put a slightly thicker one to do the highlight. So instead of adding another lighter color to it, you just add more pigment to it. Makes it stand out more. So just the edges. Starting to define the shape now. Instead of making splooges, we're actually drawing lines. Like for the palms here, we're doing sort of like crescent moons. Not that you can see with the tip, so you're just going to just nick them. Alrighty. And go on these fingertips. Can you see? Yes, you can. Just doing the tips. It's probably a mistake what I'm doing here, but I'm doing it. Just trying to get onto the shoulder there, make that stand out a bit more. Oh, off the camera. There we go, that's one mistake. It's because I felt like it was just a bit too... It was blending in a bit too much there. I don't know if you could tell, but to my eyes, it looked like it was blending in too much there. Okay. And going back over these muscles once more. I notice he doesn't have nipples. I wonder why that is. I wonder if there's lore as to why he doesn't have nipples. I'm not big into the Malifaux story or lore. There's just too much there, I just can't be bothered. Yeah. I'm sure it's interesting. I can't be bothered. I think it's a bit too focused on characters and not like an overall thing. So everyone's got their own individual little story going. Kind of like a soap opera. No one else is affected, just these particular characters. But the tale of how Jackdaw lost his nipples would be a riveting one, I am sure. Or maybe he wasn't born with them, and that's why he was hung. Is it hanged? I don't know. Okay, let's go back over the edge of that line here for this. Just the line, okay. And we'll also do, it's hard to see for you, I'll try and make it so you can see what's going on here. Because this area is going to be in shadow, this muscular bit, I'm just going to define the arm by trying to, it's all about trying to, draw this line and a crescent to kind of curve it around. Didn't that work? Can you see that? And don't want to go too far down because that's not where the light would hit it. So just very top and then curve, top and curve. Apologies that it's not easy to see with these lights, you need a bit of shadow. Maybe if I bring it out a bit more you can see it. I have to hold my breath when I'm doing that. Okay. I don't know if you can tell. Can sort of tell. Yeah, I don't want to colour too far down there. I might just touch the elbow here. It's very, very bright. I don't want to do too much. Just defining it. So when you're looking at it from a good distance away, you can tell that there's an elbow there. The paint's starting to dry on the brush, so make sure you clean it before it fully dries. Oh, stupid microphone. What's your business getting in my way? Okay, so we're just going back to the fingers here. I'm basically just tapping the brush on the knuckles. Tapper, tapper, tapper. And that should be plenty. Moisten the brush again, and we'll do the other arm. Elbow, just a marking, just to let people know there's an elbow there. Tapper, tapper, tapper the fingers, or the knuckles. If we can be bothered, we might do a further highlight on these, but I'll review that afterwards. Once I think I've finished, let's have a quick look to see if it needs to be brought up again. But for the time being, tap of the knuckles. Just the once should be plenty. Couple of lines here for the thumb and the tendons. Can you see that? Yep, cool. Now, excuse me while I hold my breath to do these lines. Make sure there's paint on the brush and it's wet, because otherwise you can make mistakes very easily trying to force the brush to do something it's not doing. Okay, let's try that again with another bit of paint on the bristle. And I'll just do the wrist while I'm here. Make that stand out more. And then the forearm. Similar motion to the other arm, basically line and curve. But we've got a bit more space here, because more light will be hitting this. And just a bit on the bicep here. Alrighty, getting there. I can see just from turning the figure that trying to get into this forearm to get some paint here. Difficult. Holding breath, talking at the same time, expelling breath, wasting breath, talking. Okay. And I didn't get these knuckles properly. That wrist. Wet the brush, taints a bit. This is where the retarder, the drying retarder would help, just to keep the paint nice and workable for a longer time. Locking those wrists up a bit more, and then just lines down to the tendons. Oh, knock the camera. And this will dry and will get a bit darker, so I think I'm okay with that. It's very corded muscle that he's got here, not like the other side. What was he doing with that arm in particular to develop those muscles in that way? Is that how his nipple was removed? Are they related? Leaving the underside untouched. Pretty much. Excuse me. You don't want it too close to my mouth, then it's just I'll just whisper into it. Alrighty, got to do these legs before our paint dries again. So heel, ankle. Going to do a line here to bring it out. Other ankle, if we can see it. Let's see if I can just scritchy scratch it to blend. It's kind of like tickling the foot with the bristles. Same with this side. Okay. Wet that up, clean the brush a bit, and just move that paint about. I reckon that's looking alright. I don't know, what do you reckon? I think that's looking alright. I'm not even going to worry about the feet. I don't think they'll be in the dirt. It'll be dark. I'll probably paint over them with the basing material. Okay, need to liquefy that paint a bit more. Just to redefine these bits a bit. And the ankle again. What is this song? March of Legions. Okay. Hooray for random playlists. Thanks, Pretzel. I said I wasn't going to worry about the feet, and then I just lied. Go me. Scritchy scratching for some basic blending. Not going to worry too much. Same with this one here. Screechy scratching. What I mean by that is I'm just tickling it. That's the very tip of the bristles. Just a backwards and forwards motion, similar to a dry brush, but much more subtle. Not as heavy-handed with it. I also find the screechy scratchy it can make a pretty cool effect, kind of like a pencil drawing. So you can see the lines that you're making, and it's not all smoothly blended. Gives it a sort of comic booky vibe. But very painterly, I think is the term. When the artist is on purpose showing their brush strokes. Okay, that's muscles defined, I think. We could probably go another step, I don't know. Yeah, it looks good enough, I think. Although, it does look a bit too mottled. I don't know, maybe I'll hit it with a yellow wash afterwards. That'll ease up that mottling, giving him a putrid colour, because he is putrid. I keep going back over these. Why? I don't know. But I gotta stop somewhere. Let's stop. Alright, let's work on something else. Let's do that red. Wasn't happy with leaving his vest the way it was last time. So what I'm going to do is I'm using this De Erog or Red Gore for those who can read it properly. It's a nice strong red, quite deep. I'm going to mix that with a brown. Let's see if I can get that onto the screen here. Focus. Zoop. So it's this part here. Let's see what fantastic colors we can come up with. So I'm going to be highlighting, like doing edges, and I don't want a nice bright red. This guy's dead after all. So instead of a white or a pink, I'm going to use a brown for that effect. Which is, I think, turning out pretty good. I think that's alright, so if we stand out a bit more, introduce more of that red. Maybe I'm going too high too fast. So we'll work with this, and then we will assess. The cloth is very, very easy. We're essentially just doing lines. Okay, now let's refocus. Where are we? About that height. Okay. Probably get away with not diluting this paint very much. Not a whole heap of blending that we're going to be doing. So this needs very shiny, that's the wash. So I'm going to start off from the bottom because that'll be the most in the light, most illuminated. You can even see the effect happening there. I think we hit the right color. It's not too red, it's not too bright. Doing the edges, and then kind of ignoring it as it gets closer to a valley. And we can always knock it back with another wash to assist with that blending. After we've done this, and then we'll have to smash it with a matte medium to knock out that shine. I don't think these clothes should be very shiny. I don't know what he'll be doing to wear, what is it, latex. Don't want to go too far in there because it'll be dark. Okay, let's see if I can get some in there. We want some color. Bit dry. Oh, it's the wrong color. Yeah, I think that's fine there. Can you even see my face? Just, okay. So just doing the edges now, because that's already dry. Just to bring up, there we go. And line and line. Let's do his shoulders now. Okay. Alrighty. So lots of lines here. Not too far down, because that's where it starts to get shadowy. More lines. Again, if you have trouble with the lines, add some drying retardant to it. Again, I use this one, the, what is this? Reaper Mini Master Series Paint Core Colors, what was it? Drying retardant. There you go. Just a single drop, it'll give you plenty of time to work with. And you can get nice straight lines, you can load up your brush, and you will have great success with lines. That's my little trick anyway. So just doing the very edges here, just ignoring the pit there in his arm. Can you see that? Good-o. Don't want to go too far in, like I just said. Okay. Painty, 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 liney, liney, liney. I think that's the vest done on this side. Because light will be hitting the inside of this part here. Yep. I'm just going to try and catch the edges.